conflict between Israel and Iran. Newzroom Africa's Simon Marks is live for us in London. Simon, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to start with the debate that the U.S. strikes in Iran have really sparked in the U.S., particularly in Washington, D.C. You did see tweets, for instance, towards the end of last week from Bernie Sanders talking about just how much power Donald Trump does have in entering the U.S. into the war, seemingly that becoming quite the discussion. The move to bomb these 3 sites in Iran, getting quite a bit of, I suppose, compliments from the Republicans, but not so much Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Naledi. I mean, what we've witnessed over the last few hours is evidence that Donald Trump has pulled off one of the most daring geostrategic and military bluffs in American history, indicating as recently as Thursday night that he might be willing to give diplomacy another 14 days. He said that he wouldn't make a decision, that he would only make a decision to launch these airstrikes on Iran's uranium enrichment facilities within the next 14 days. That seemed to put paid to the notion that an attack was imminent. But we now know that that was all a bluff, that he had decided on Wednesday, 24 hours earlier, that he absolutely was going to go ahead with this attack. And indeed, the B-2 bombers that carried those bunker-busting bombs and dropped them on Iran's nuclear facilities, a dozen bunker busters deployed against the uranium enrichment facility in Fordow alone. It took them 37 hours to fly from Missouri to the skies over Iran, so they clearly left on Friday, even while the White House was intimating there was time for diplomacy. I mean, the reaction to all of this, of course, the Democrats are furious. And of course, they are accusing Donald Trump of ignoring his constitutional requirement under the War Powers Act to get congressional approval for this kind of attack. I mean, that argument's not going to go very far. There have been so many presidents of both parties that have ignored the War Powers Act in the past, and Donald Trump is not really treading new ground in that regard. But where I think Donald Trump, does have potential difficulty is within his own Make America Great Again, America First movement, because his grassroots supporters are split. You have the Trump supporters that were deeply attracted by the message that he presented on the campaign trail last year and that he articulated in his inaugural address only in January, that he wasn't going to drag America into any more forever wars. The military adventurism of Iraq and Afghanistan was over. He wanted, he said, to be best remembered not for the wars that he started, but for the wars that he ended and those that he never got into in the first place. And fast forward just 5 months from that inaugural address, and here is Donald Trump potentially dragging America into another very lengthy conflict. And he's got prominent supporters within his Make America Great Again movement, people like the former Fox News personality Tucker Carlson, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, the influencer from the far right Candace Owens, all of them arguing in the days leading up to this attack that Donald Trump should not go into Iran and that the United States did not have a vital national security interest there. So the political flack that may end up being a problem for him is not going to be the flack coming from the Democrats. It's going to be the flack coming from some of his own supporters. Yeah,
very interesting. And then, of course, there's going to be the question around whether or not the president of the U.S. would be able to garner support from allies as well to perhaps play a role. I mean, quite a bit of debate around how much authorities in the UK would have known about the bombardment. And you've got, officials saying that you've got Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the UK, saying that, they have concerns around the risk of escalation, but no sense that they were expecting the US to enter Iran.
Well, I have to tell you, from the perspective of being in London, and I am currently in London as opposed to my more usual home back in Washington, D.C., it is astonishing to see the way in which Donald Trump not only played a game of bluff with the Iranians, but did so with his European allies. It was only last Wednesday that Sir Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, at the G7 summit in Kananaskis in Canada, from which Donald Trump had departed early in order to return to the White House to get into the Situation Room with his national security team. Only on Wednesday, Sir Keir Starmer in Canada was saying he was absolutely certain that Donald Trump was in the business of de-escalation, not escalation. They had even sat alongside one another at dinner the previous night, the British Prime Minister said, and that's how he could be sure that Donald Trump was serious about seeking de-escalation. And it was put to him and other European leaders at the G7, well, hang on a second, the President of the United States has left. He's gone back for urgent meetings with his national security team. Are you all sure he's not going to do this? And many of them echoed what the British Prime Minister had said. That was Wednesday. It's now Sunday. Sir Keir Starmer here in London insisting that he now thinks it's the time for de-escalation, but he's tacked in his messaging and said that the UK has always believed that Iran should never be able to develop a nuclear weapon. And by the way, the tapestry to all of this, of course, is the somewhat inconvenient claim by America's own director.
Okay, seems like we've lost Simon Marks there. But those technical glitches do continue. But we're going to keep looking at this, of course. But Simon Marks speaking to us there from London as we reflect on the US bombarding 3 nuclear sites in Iran. That conversation now becoming a global one around what the implications are going to be, certainly across the globe, but also particularly inside the US. Of course, this taking place with not a lot of support from some officials there.